In today's video, I'm going to lay out all of your options when it comes to what you can do with your 401k after you leave your employer, either because of a job change or retirement. And also go over the implications that might result from whatever action it is you choose. Hey everybody, I'm Riley, a CFP professional with Blue Ox Advisors. If at any time during this video you have questions or need help, go to blueoxadvisors.com and I'm there for you. But for now, let's get to it. If you came here asking the question, what should I do with my 401k? You're not alone. According to ICI data, 70 million people, that's equivalent to over 20% of the US population, currently have 401k plans and are likely to ask this exact question at some point. And luckily, the options are fairly simple and straightforward. So let's get to option 1. This option is to keep your 401k right where it is with a former employer. Now, in most cases, you can keep your 401k in your former employer's plan. Most companies, but not all, will allow you to keep your savings in their plan after you leave. If you choose this route, here are some things you should know. Let's start with the pros. First, your retirement savings will remain invested and you can continue to benefit from the growth and dividends generated by those investments. Another pro is that 401ks offer what's called ERISA protection, which means that creditors generally can't access funds that are held in your 401k to satisfy legal judgments or debts, and this is actually a federal law. It's important to note that this protection doesn't usually apply for divorce. Another pro is that 401ks allow you to take loans from them, and if you withdraw or move funds to an IRA, you can no longer do this. However, a 401k loan after you've left your old employer is generally actually pretty rare. In a PSCA study, data showed that 1% of plans actually allow people to take loans after they separate from service anyway. Okay, so we've reviewed the pros. You're probably wondering, well, what are the cons? The first is vesting. If your account isn't fully vested and you leave your employer, they'll recoup the portion of the money that they contributed to your 401k that's not yet yours because you didn't work there long enough. Another con that you'll notice, especially if you have an investment account outside of your 401k, is that there's a very limited selection of investment options inside of employer plans like a 401k. This obviously doesn't change when you leave. Think of the menu of options in a 401k as a single page rather than a book like in most IRAs. And since there are so few funds available to you, you usually don't have options like CDs with a fixed annual percentage or particular stocks, ETFs, or mutual funds. Another con of leaving your plan with an old employer that people frequently report is that there tend to be hoops to jump through for things like withdrawals or fund changes. So when you do want to make a withdrawal, that often means filling out paperwork, providing documentation, or calling your HR department, which can be time consuming. Moving on to option 2. It's pretty straightforward, and that's bringing your plan with you to a new employer. The pros of this is that your funds are consolidated and working together in the same account. The cons are that you're now faced with many of the same challenges that we just went over, like limited options and dealing with administrators. And sometimes your new employer may not even accept 401ks of a previous plan. Let's move to option 3 of what you can do with your 401k, and that is to cash out or withdraw funds completely. And although it's simple, it may not be the best decision. Let me tell you why. First, if you withdraw money from your 401k before you're 59 and a half, the IRS assesses a 10% penalty. That could mean giving the government $2,500 or 10% of a $25,000 withdrawal. Second, if you do withdraw, since 401ks are pre-tax funds, you'll also owe taxes on top of the penalty, which means the higher the balance of your withdrawal, the more tax you'll likely end up paying. And if you're not aware of this, it could be a real shocker when you go to do your taxes for the year. Okay, let's move to option 4, and that is move your funds into an IRA, or better known as an individual retirement account. If you're like many people who want to officially cut ties with their old employers, then this might be an option for you. But let's review the pros and cons first. First, moving your 401k into an IRA can simplify management for things like asset allocation, fund choice, beneficiaries, and annual required distributions, especially if you have multiple 401ks out there. Think of it like babysitting. If you're babysitting 3 kids in different backyards, it would be tough to keep an eye on all 3 at the same time. By getting them into one yard, it's a lot easier to watch them all. Also, convenience and not having to go through your HR department or old employer is a big factor for people deciding to go with an IRA. An example of this is being able to take withdrawals for income in retirement whenever you want. This is a big part of retirement for many people, obviously, but according to a PSCA study, it was found that just 61% of 401k plans actually allowed periodic or partial withdrawals by retirees in 2022. Another pro of the IRA for many people is professional management options or advice. Now, you don't have to go this route, but often financial advisors can help you move funds from a 401k to an IRA and provide advice on navigating tax rules, reporting requirements, and also also creating a strategy for income generation in retirement. Other pros, like I mentioned, are fund options. Unlike a 401k where you're very limited, with IRAs you have a much wider range of options to choose from, like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and alternatives, allowing for a more customized portfolio. And the last pro I'll mention is bankruptcy protection. This means if you file for bankruptcy, in many cases you have protections. So obviously there are a few pros, but a recent study by ICI found that the 3 most common reasons people do this, moving their 401k into an IRA, were the following. Number 1, they didn't want to leave behind assets with their former employer. Second, they wanted to consolidate things and simplify. And third, wanting more investment options. Now, for cons, the magnitude of this downside may depend greatly on your state. And the biggest is that once assets are moved into an IRA from a 401k, they're covered by state-specific laws rather than federal laws. Many offer substantial protection for IRA assets from creditors, but the level can differ. Just be sure that you know the state-specific rules if you decide to make this move. Okay, that was a lot of information, so remember, if you have even a simple question, this is what I do every day. Go to blueoxadvisors.com to connect with me, and I'll get back with you as quickly as possible to help. Remember, whether you decide to maintain things in a 401k or manage your funds in an IRA, keep in mind the tax implications that result from taking money out of whatever account you have. Also remember, RMDs, or required minimum distributions, need to be taken when you're of age. This is the government forcing you to pay taxes on funds that are still in the account as you get older. So I hope this video helped answer your questions. Like this video if you felt it was valuable, and remember, if you need help, visit blueoxadvisors.com to get started.